Elon Musk is out of control. I don't mean that in a good way or a bad way. You just can't control the guy. He's got an anti-woke platform. I was posting about Elon Musk one time on Instagram, and someone says, "You sound like you're standing for Elon Musk." I'm like, no, I have a very objective opinion of him in general. So Elon Musk, in his new Star brand, he launches this thing called Robotaxi by Tesla. It's basically Uber, but with Tesla robots auto driving it. This is an interesting play because this starts to lead into the whole.
This is Show versus Business, where pop culture meets pop money. We host the real Theo Harvey and Mr. Benja. So, Mr. Benja, what's been going on?
Theo, can you hear me? I know there were some things going on last week. I heard a hurricane came through. Are you okay? Are you good? You're good, right?
I am good.
Okay, good. Guys, Theo is good. I want to not apologize, but we didn't announce it. We had a filler episode last week, catch you up on some stuff that we had talked about before. But this week we are back in the flesh. And you know what? We may try to throw some other surprises at you here and there, some bonus episodes this way and that way. Let us know what you think about those. But in the meantime, this week, things have still been going crazy. Yes, we're going to get an update on the hurricane and all the action that's been going on Theo's side of the planet. And we're going to talk a little bit about going into this holiday season. We've got some election business, and a lot of it, for some reason, deals with Elon Musk. And he's got a lot going on right now with SpaceX, with Robotaxi, with the Optimus robot, with his AI system. Is this too much power for one man to handle? What's the Kanye quote? Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Elon's going crazy out there. Companies are firing Gen Z employees for some reason. There's a little bit of a rift going on there. Some things in sports. The WNBA, is it covering players' bills? Angel Reese has some things to say about that. Jake Paul's out there boxing. A couple other topics we may jump into and get into. And there's an anti-woke university also that is being funded. So this is all strange and new, but it's happening and we're here to talk about it. But what we really want to talk about is my man Theo. How you been?
Yeah, man. Doing good, man. Doing good. Last time we talked about hurricanes, I mentioned Hurricane Helene, how I was out of town in DC and had to fly back in the cover of darkness to make it home in time before Hurricane Helene came. That was literally about 30 days ago. So it's funny, it's almost a repeat this time, but I didn't travel anywhere. I saw it. I think it was Sunday or Monday. They said, hey, there's this little tropical storm coming up in the coast. Coming up in the Gulf of Mexico. And I didn't think anything about it. We get so many hits of hurricanes and stuff here in Florida. And you remember growing up here, there's always something going on.
Yeah, people don't get that, how, they're like, oh my gosh, why didn't they leave? It's like, hey, they're around all the time and you never know when it's going to
pop off, literally. And that's a great phrase. But I think this one just came out of nowhere. It was this little tropical storm. And literally 2 days later, it was a Hurricane 5. So it was bearing down straight toward Tampa, which is the Tampa area where I live, near Tampa Bay, St. Pete area. And so, I think we're all watching it. And it was so funny. I only gauge if I should do something. Number one, my wife gets nervous and starts to ask me questions. And number two, if I see my other neighbors put up shutters around the neighborhood. So today I'm just sitting there. Hey, we'll see. Yeah. I saw the first sign, canary in the coal mine, was the shutters starting to go up. And then my wife, usually what happens, she'll be watching news or staying up late. And then she'll wake up and give me a text like early in the morning. I think we need to get some shutters, or this guy's put up shutters. So I'm like, okay, so I got to do some work. Yeah, man, we shuttered the house, did all that. My mom, making sure they were doing okay. Luckily, I have two sisters here. They have their own places. So my parents are debating if they're going to stay with one of us, and my sister went out. So that was good. So yeah, we started stacking up. We got our waters, did our thing. They already canceled school that week. I think school got canceled like that Monday and Tuesday of the week of the hurricane. The kids are there. So we were cool. It was okay. We're just going to hunker down. It should be okay. But obviously that Hurricane 5 starting to get crazy. And then I knew it was something special because I don't know if you read this headline. CNN put this headline out. I think the mayor of Tampa said, if you stay, you will die. It was like in big bold letters on the cover of CNN now. James, you can find that. Post that. Show everybody that. Yeah. Yes. So it then all of a sudden, I literally got texts, emails, folks friends, ex-employees, shoot, ex-girlfriend, just everybody came out of woodwork and just said, "Are you okay? Are you gonna die?"
Yeah, yeah,
I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay." They were like, "If you need a place to stay, you need to leave like now. Seriously, you don't need to stay in Florida." I mean, it was crazy. You know, my wife was getting the same thing. We were just like, what is going on? I think people just thought it was going to be like this supernatural disaster. And so we were concerned when it was still category 5, but then there was rumors that it was going to slow down a little bit. And
yeah,
it did. It hit landfall at like a category 3, which is good. But the other side of this, right? All the other hurricanes we've been through here, none of them took our power and cellular and stuff. But this one did. It was pretty much a direct hit, but it was not as bad as they foresee. Because if you're at like Hurricane 5, you're looking at 200-mile-per-hour winds. They say sea surge, basically 10 to 15 feet. So that basically is as big as a small building, overcoming anything that's near the coastline. And so
right.
that's why they're telling a lot of people on those coastlines to get out. And they had mandatory evacuations. And I don't know if you saw this guy, Lieutenant Dan, out there in his boat. That they were trying to get him out.
He
He
got
was a
arrested, huh?
TikTok star. Yeah, there's a TikTok star out there, man. He was out here, Lieutenant Dan. I'm not leaving my boat. One of those kind of guys. And he became a little internet star because he would just poke his head out of his little boat.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
police
I'm
try to
looking
get
at
him out.
I'm looking at that right now. From USA Today, it says Lieutenant Dan, who rode out Hurricane Milton on his sailboat in Tampa, is arrested.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, get that guy out of there,
Oh
man.
man, the
Yeah,
TikTok
man.
star. He told
Yeah,
officers that he didn't have an accessible marine sanitation device aboard his unregistered vessel and did not have record of proper disposal of waste. So they decided to gaffle him up for being on TikTok and riding around in a funky boat.
yeah, man. It was one of those things, man.
Oof.
And then he ended up saying the N-word, so it became a whole thing too.
Oh
So it's
Lord, I
just,
missed that.
yeah, just one of those Florida man stories, man. You only get in Florida. Florida man rides hurricane. Story at 11. Yes, it was one of those, man. So anyway, we dealt with that, and then what happened was just the whole power thing, right? So the first day everything was fine. I think it was windy, but it was not too bad, and then it got progressively worse. So what happens is you're in the hurricane, the first part of it, it's fun. You usually get those winds and you hit the eye. It's kind of peaceful. So I opened my doors like around because it struck us around, I want to say afternoon, like 3 or 4 p.m. And
Yeah,
you can hear the winds going. But then when you hit that eye, it gets really eerily calm. You go outside, wow, it's like quiet. What's going on? And then you get the other side because it's a cone. So you get the
yeah.
other side of it. Now it's like, oh, and that's when it was like the house was rocking there, man. We were hearing the trees, hitting the shutters, stuff like that. And so we were all at our master bedroom, my kids and I and stuff. Then we were okay, watching TV, everything's fine. Then all of a sudden the lights went out around like I would say 10 o'clock.
Hmm.
And we said, okay, I guess that's it, guys. I guess we're going to bed. So we all hunkered down, went to bed, and then woke up the next day. And so obviously I said, okay, let me see what the damage was. So the first thing I looked out my backyard, and man, it was nothing but trees back there, man. I have some big trees back in my
Yeah,
backyard, but one of my neighbor's trees, thank God it hit my roof, but it had toppled over. So it was like all over my yard. It basically, I couldn't see my yard at all because of the
right.
trees and limbs and stuff. So
Now,
that was one of the first things I had to do to get rid of. Go ahead.
did you have any? Did you have any communications up, internet, cell? Right.
Yeah, that was the other thing. No. So cellular was down. I could talk to people and like my mom would call, but I couldn't. They said you could, if you have an iPhone, I think 11 and above or something, you can use the satellite signal. That didn't work at all. So basically, I didn't get any information. So it was difficult. So basically, I drove down around town and try to find little pockets of places. I found a place I could finally get a signal.
Yeah,
So I parked there for about a couple hours. I was still working, checking emails and stuff on my phone. And then went back home. And then me and the wife, we just started talking about stuff and how things were going. So I started taking shutters off, cleaning up and things like that. But yeah, it was just a random mess. So that Friday, we were just still out of power. So we were contemplating, and literally there was power nowhere. So the neighborhood was completely dark, and there was only like 2 restaurants open in our area. There was one we had to go all the way down to get some nasty pizza at one of those Circle K places. So we stand in line for an hour just to get some pizza
yeah.
and some gas. So that was, I was like, this is what it feels like to be in a third world country, man. Standing in line for food and
Yeah, yeah. I
and
can't
all that.
I can't remember when, but I was young and I had to go through that. I was just with my dad in the car and he was more stressed out than I was. I was like, "Cool, hanging out in the car with dad, whatever." But I just remember being in line for gas for a long time and then getting some bum snacks from whatever was left at Publix and then going back home and locking up.
Yeah, Publix wasn't open, the grocery stores are open, and that was a time before really the internet, before cell phones, so the kids are, like, jumping through the roof because they don't have the games and all that like they used to. They could have the
Yeah.
games that were downloaded, but they couldn't get on they couldn't watch their YouTube videos and stuff, so it just was one of those things, and then the other places were open was a Panda Express. I had to wait in line for that, and this one guy, he had for some reason, he was brilliant, business 101, right? Find opportunity. If you looked in the darkness, you saw this red charcoal, like they smelled this whiff of barbecue. This guy had set up a smoker in the darkness, man, was grilling up something, man, something good. And yeah, people forming a line just to get some grill. He was, and I don't know where he got his meat from because you remember the lights, power's out, so everybody's refrigerator
Yeah.
would have rotten food at that
Well,
point, right?
that's probably it. You have
Yeah.
stuff iced and salted and everything, and it's, "Hey, man, we gotta grill this up or it's going to waste."
Exactly. So he had went to his refrigerator and was grilling something good, man. So yeah, so that Friday night was so terrible. Luckily, the wife and the kids, they were heading out of town to North Carolina Friday. So I dropped them off at the airport and they had a good time with lights and electricity, cellular service. And I skedaddled. I went down to Miami. So I just got down there for a couple of days so I could get internet, relax, and just enjoy myself. And I had to think about this until I got back. And so we got back Monday of this week. And so we started to clean up and everything was back, the electricity, cellular service, all that.
Mhm.
So yeah, man, that's one thing I realized. I'm like, man, I think climate change is real. Number one, it's like these hurricanes never came so as they used to. I can remember weeks. Oh yeah, here's a
Yeah.
hurricane. It's coming. Take your time. And then how fast it blew up. It went from a little tropical storm to this 200-mile-per-hour monster in literally days. And so they're saying that the intensity of these storms are increasing. And there are also rumors that I see it too. Our insurance, from a business standpoint, our insurance premiums are going up like every year, whether it's car or even housing insurance. So
Yeah.
I can see people who live in these coastal towns with more and more climate change, sea levels rising. I can see it becoming harder and harder to insure these type of properties, and people just being like, it's not worth it anymore to stay in these areas if it's going to be that much. So it's like I said, the matter of fact, there was a economic article I saw in the Washington Post that talked about they're trying to figure out are we seeing economic shift in housing prices in certain areas due to
Mm.
hurricanes over the last 20 years. And there's some faint indicators, not solid science yet, but I think there's some leading indicators that may be the case. So it's a lot of stuff to consider, man. I'm just like, what's the business idea if we don't do anything about climate change? What does that look like? And that's what I'm going to
Yeah.
invest in because this is going to be a reality for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, actually, we'll probably get into that a little later, but maybe a little something about nuclear power. But man, no, it's glad to hear that everything went relatively smoothly. No serious calamities for anybody that, not anybody you knew either, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, family's good, but you just see, you hear folks, obviously a lot of flooding, some roof damage, stuff like that. So for those people that did suffer from it, my heart goes out to them, and definitely please donate and give what you can to help people in need between. And the fact that it hit two hurricanes hit within 2 weeks, that was a lot for
Yeah.
certain neighbor communities. And so from Helene, obviously we saw the devastation it hit North Carolina, but it came through Florida as well. And then now you just had Milton. So it's been a
Yeah.
lot.
They were talking about like FEMA didn't have the money and they were like, hey, you got to pull back on some of that other spending and get back to FEMA because apparently they ran out of money after it walked all up and down the East Coast.
Yeah, yeah. So it's crazy times we live in, man. It is what it is. So yeah, man. So that's been what's been going on. So other than that, man, yeah, man, on a lighter note, I did check out some of the news on the New York Comic Con. Did you see some of the latest news that came out of Comic Con this week?
No, I was just watching a bunch of, for some reason, it's become a thing now. I don't know why now. It's become a thing on Instagram and TikTok to catch these random New Yorkers in costume and cosplay, like while they're on their way to and from the con. You'll just have a guy in a red unicorn outfit and like a tote bag trying to talk to some girl eating pizza on the subway, and you're like, "What is
Love
this?"
it.
But no, no stories. I haven't been following the stories. What's going on?
DC, curious to see what the shenanigans they're up to, right? We know what MCU, man, we'll do an MCU update on the latest stuff, right? We got the big news from the Comic Con in San Diego with obviously Robert Downey Jr. coming as appearing as Doom in the next versions of
Yes,
Secret Wars and others. James Gunn's got to put his little 2 cents in here. And I know you're not a fan. I'm just curious to see what he's definitely got the what's it kind of like the the Carnival Barker with him. He's trying to promote stuff and put some sensationalism out there into the internet to get people excited. So we'll see, man.
I think
He's
he's doing
talking
a good
about,
job.
yeah, I think it's still muted. I guess we're just waiting because man, can you believe Superman actually comes out July 11th, 2025? So that's almost what, just about 8 months or so. That's not
Yeah,
long.
I just saw a tweet saying that where he was like, "Don't worry, guys, stuff is coming." And it's like, all right. And yeah, just an hour ago, discussing film says James Gunn claims that David Cornsweet will blow people the F away as Superman. Of course, a James Gunn type of quote. I don't think anyone really understands the depth of this guy's talent dramatically, comedically, physically. And they've got a picture of Superman and the dog Crypto. Right off the bat, I had called it before with the weirdness of James Gunn and going into even the Superman logo that they sent out. I said, we're about to get something interesting. I don't know what it means to have crypto involved, but I don't know, man. Anytime crypto gets involved in Superman projects,
Oh,
it takes a certain path.
silliness.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. This the
Crypto
guy
is
who
the
did
dog,
the,
by the way.
yes, yes. Let everyone know if you didn't know. This the guy that made the third Guardians of the Galaxy about a raccoon, right? That was the major thrust of the pilot, right? So
Yeah.
definitely, I could see us. This is, guess what? The story is from Crypto's point of view. Surprise!
Yeah.
It's not. It's the origin story of Crypto, not Superman. Which I have no clue. What's the official canon of Crypto? It doesn't. And does Krypton have dogs? Wow. It's like Super Earth. I don't know. That's weird. Or is that
Yeah. I don't
dog
know.
that became infused with the powers of Superman through a
Yeah.
blood transfusion? Oh, we're terrible. People are gonna flame us. You don't know. Krypton always had dogs since the first century of the. Yeah, I don't know where Crypto came from, man. Seriously, makes no
Yeah, I
sense.
don't know. I haven't been checking out any movies. I have been, as I said, I'm on my new flow, just getting through the day, through the week, through the month. That we've been talking about with the 10x and all that all this year. That flow was really important to me, and I was like, I keep screwing up my sleep. Like I'll wake up and it won't be quite right, or I won't get to sleep and it won't be quite right, and it wasn't perfected. And I realized that I was really not poisoning, but infecting my mind with stuff that just didn't work out for me. Even if it was like pure meditation, I'd wake up all zen, and then all of a sudden it's like the jolt of the day would mess me up. And I'm like, oh, I was zen 5 minutes ago. What happened? God, watching an episode of Batman every night has just been Batman the animated series. It started with Cape Crusader. Just watching one episode every night. I just wake up in the morning hearing those horns, wah, wah, and I'm just like, yeah, let me go stand on this building and look brooding as I attack the day.
So wait a minute. So you finished Cape Crusader?
I did.
Okay, we definitely got. I didn't finish it yet, but we could definitely talk
It's
about it.
it's
Was it good? Did you like it?
they're doing more than I thought they were doing. Credits to Mark Bernardine, the writer on this. He was sliding in the style of storytelling I didn't catch from the very beginning. So a lot of the little side stuff is actually tying into some underlying stories that he's building through the series, which is new and fresh for this era. And it makes sense, but I just wasn't looking for it. So I really didn't catch it until about midway through.
Hmm. Okay. So yeah, I finished watching it. Side note, I was telling, so Dr. Chris is in town. I think I told you before the pod. You guys don't know, Dr. Chris showed up on our episode talking about X-Men 97. So yeah, so go check that one out. Yeah, I was telling him this week before he came down there. I did a deep dive on, I don't know why I did this, Dark Knight, uh, the Dark Knight, the Christopher
Mhm.
Nolan second version of Batman. I didn't know how deep it was, man. Christopher Nolan, that damn Christopher Nolan, man. He put so many things in there, like things like game theory was involved in it, prisoner's dilemma. We talked about that on one of
Yeah,
our pods. I was like, wait a minute, this is crazy. He put all this stuff into psychological stuff into this comic book movie, man. Who knew?
yeah,
But yeah, I said those. So yeah, I've been on a kick on just I didn't watch it made me want to go watch those movies again. These deep dives on Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and then Dark Knight Rises, just like how he set everything up. The villains being direct opposite of Batman, chaos, the Joker
yeah,
versus Batman order. So it was just pretty interesting. But to your point, it's good to go back sometimes to see old stuff and it gives you that peace. Or maybe there's that motivation, like you said, Batman gonna get the job done. So if you hear those horns or those slow strings, excuse me, though, that was it like a cello. So like
yeah.
so yeah, whatever it is that those strings get you motivated, man, get back into that Batman zone. You got to do what it takes. I commend you.
Yeah, man. I'm all about doing what it takes, man. And I've I'm on to something that it's just this has been a research project of mine where it's like you're how do you do what you don't want to do, you should do? And how do you get into that mode? I was looking at the biochemistry of it, the neuro neuropsychology of it, the the whole spirituality of, hey, you should do what just follow your bliss. And then there's the other side of it where it's just like, just pound through it. And I just really started thinking, okay, all this makes sense, but I want to play this stupid game. And I'm sitting here playing this game wondering, why do I want to click this? Okay, dopamine, yes, I get the rush of the reward. I want more. Then there's so much the reward, cue, trigger, all that business. And I'm just going back and forth with this. And I started to realize something almost sinister. The entire global structure of the sellers and buyers, where we've been sold this idea that, no, you're doing fine, you're doing good, go to school. But that whole thing that's been sold to us has been a part of the game that we just naturally accepted because everybody's playing it. And of course, we're not quite happy with just getting up and doing the work and everything. And so I'm on this whole crazy research kick, and it's got me really contemplating like why I get up in the morning and do things and why I'm playing a game, why I like to do this type of work but don't like this type of work. It's just it's very fascinating stuff. I'll come back to it
Yeah,
more later.
yeah. Yeah, man, I don't want to get into other conversations about red pilling, right? But the red pill and what all. But yeah,
Oh yeah, I wouldn't didn't mean to.
yeah, but I do feel like there is a cohesive choice to or cohesive or cabal, if you will, machinations, if you will,
Yeah.
even better, that's motivating society to keep you in these certain lanes, to keep things flowing, the commerce flowing. And so I don't want to get to my conspiracy hat right now, but I do feel like there are things motivating, and then the algorithms that don't help. These algorithms are accelerating that because they
Mhm.
never stop. So I have a prediction. Maybe we'll talk about it later in one of our episodes. Well, I'll talk about it now,
Let's
but I'll mention the AI real
okay.
quick. I want to put it out there so I can remember it next time.
All right.
I think they're going to have to create like AI agents for us individuals to interact with the algorithms. Because when we're sleeping, these algorithms never shut off. They're always
Mm.
bombarding us, pushing us towards a certain way. The only way that human beings can have any sense of agency, we have AI agents that we can control and that can manage the other AI agents. Because think about it, they're like their own entity. They never shut off. They don't need to rest, run. We need to rest, right? We need to
Yeah.
shut down. We need to step away. And that's what's happening now. These agents, these algorithms are constantly in our face, pushing us. That's why we anxiety is at a all-time high for young folks, right? And so I think because there's so much coming at them with social media, so we have our own kind of AI agents that kind of filter that for us, and then gives us piecemeal to exactly what we want to hear. Now, granted, we'll all be sheltered more, right? Because we're not going to have the full
Mm.
picture, but at least the algorithm is you definitely don't need this, you need this, you need based on how you program it. So that's my prediction because that's the only way to thrive in a world that's run by algorithms. As we see right
Yeah.
now, it's not working.
Yeah, and that the content that you get from most of these platforms, the comment not just the content that you see, but the contents are ordered the comments are ordered and shuffled around depending on who
Mhm.
you are. But if I'm in the comments and I'm seeing like, "Hey, why is everybody talking about this? Can't we just You ever see those comments? Like, why is everyone saying X, Y, and Z? And you're like, I don't see that. That's because it's ordered based on what you want to see or what you engage with or enrage with or whatever. Anyway, yeah, that's all that. So yeah, I don't want to get too far into that. I made a note here. Let's make a big conspiracy episode on
Oh,
the
yeah,
AI, the machine,
buddy.
and all that.
I love it.
You bring a tinfoil hat. I'll bring my Guy Fawkes mask. It'll be great.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
What's up with the movie, the box office, real quick?
Yeah, man. What is going on in the movies? Mr. Benja, you a horror fan?
At times, it depends.
Yeah. I used to be, or I used to watch it a lot more. But since I've gotten kids, I shied away from it. It's just some of these horror films just too mean spirited, right? It's just let's just kill the kid, do this. It's
Green
just
swirls. Yeah.
it's just excessive for no reason. Oh, he was just staying on the street. Why'd he get splattered? Come on, man.
You,
He did nothing wrong.
you've become that parent.
Yes, I have.
It's okay. It's okay.
I mean,
We need you.
There's just too much, man, just for no reason. Thoughtful horror, fine. The Babadook, I don't know if you saw that one. That was pretty good. Thoughtful reflection of what it means to be a parent. There were some other good ones. But horror does have a point, right? There's Smile 2 is out now. Did you see the original Smile?
I saw the original Smile.
Yeah, so it's a new take on trauma, horror, right? How trauma can scar you, right? A little bit and influence you. So I think that's interesting. Did you ever see Hereditary?
Didn't see Hereditary.
Yeah, about curses from the past and how the things can get on you and harm you and your future generations. So anyway, I say all
Yeah,
this saying like horror can be
don't forget Jordan Peele bringing racism to an actual discussion without getting people too pissed off.
good point. Yeah, man. Get out, man. He really did. But it was interesting. He took the perspective from the liberals, right? It's like, I just want to be so healthy. I want to be in your skin, that kind of thing. And so it's just, that was a unique take too. So he didn't take the traditional, the folks that you think are against black folks. He was just more, hey, these are people supposed to be helpful. And it's still
Yeah.
harming us. But yes, I thought that was interesting. But now, man, we're just getting to the baseness of horror. Obviously, we grew up on Freddy Krueger, Jason, Michael Myers a little bit before our time, but I think really I've always, and Chucky, right? The comedy horror trio, right? The way they kill folks was just humorous, or just the way they did it. I can remember seeing Jason versus Freddy in the movies, just having a good time. Or Jason X, Jason is in space, killing folks with laser beams. Good stuff, good times, right? Now we got a new killer clown on the loose, man. His name is Art the
Terrifier.
Clown. Terrifier 3, featuring Art the Clown, man. And have you seen any of these? Like I said, we had him, man. We'll bring him back. Pacing Pete. He was the one that just was like, I love this stuff, man. He's just one of those horror guys, and maybe we'll bring him on, do our annual horror picks for the year. But Mr. Benja, what do you know about Terrifier 3? Because it was a #1 movie last week, and it's already on pace to make $30 million. And I think they made it from maybe a ham sandwich and a couple $1 million.
Yeah.
So it beat out all these other studio run movies and all that on word of mouth. Really no advertising.
Well, I mean,
So what are your thoughts on this?
We grew up on Blair Witch, so that's nothing too out of the picture. But no, you got to expect some of these independent things to show up once in a while and shake up the thing. No, I'm proud that they're doing what they're doing. I don't know if I'm going to go sit through Terrifier 1 and 2 and then 3 just to catch up on the vibe, but cool, glad for them.
Do you know anything about these? Have you seen any snippets of them or anything like that?
I know what he looks like. That's about it.
Okay, yeah. Go look at one snippet, man. You'll see how intense these things can get. It's almost shock value for shock value, the way they do these kills. It's just what? So it's like to the extreme. Just
Well,
makes you just do reactions.
It's that season, man.
Reactions.
We got to schedule this out, man. We got to have our conspiracy episode, our yearly roundups coming up, all the holiday stuff, and the Halloween episode. In fact, we got to do that next week.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's coming soon, man. So
Let's call Pete. Halloween episode next week. Boom.
Yeah, we'll get it done. So maybe you can talk about a little bit. I'm not gonna see Terrifier City. I just refuse. I'm not gonna see that mess.
All
I'll
right.
see snippets. I see snippets. That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Gotcha.
anyway, so that's what's going on in the movie theaters. And then the other one on a lighter note, opposite of Christmas, opposite of Halloween is Christmas now, right? So they're like opposites of each other. Scary Christmas is Halloween. You got more Jesus Christmas, less Jesus Halloween. So here we are, man. We got Christmas movies, Lifetime Christmas movie season. It's on. We talk about this. This is like our own thing. Like Black Batman Week, we talk about the Lifetime Christmas movies. I don't think either of us watch them, but it's just hilarious how many of these
Bro.
movies they put out every year.
And they get watched.
They must, because the same actors keep popping up again and again.
Yeah, it's like you go to your aunt's house and she's, "I'm gonna watch this one. It's got Terry Hatcher in it." And I'm like, "What?" And yeah,
Some
it's
of these
always
people
funny
don't even
because
act anymore, really. Like Terry Hatcher, she ain't acting in a year. I think she's married to a multimillionaire or something like that. So it's like Vivica Fox, come
Mhm.
on, hey.
Yeah, so last time we spoke about this, we were talking about and we probably gotta go deep on this in our Halloween our holiday episode,
Mhm.
but yeah, this is coming. It's just the season for this kind of rom-coms. I don't even know what to call this Lifetime push, but yeah, Engaged by Christmas is gonna be out on December 22nd. Maybe we should roast these. I don't know. We should do something, but,
Ooh, we should do a special live event. We'll do a watch along. A Mystery Science Theater 3000. We'll just sit there, just crack up.
oh my goodness.
This is crazy, man. The first one looks like November 16th. So they're gonna even start way before uh Christmas, even before
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. And they're gonna have like literally one almost one a day.
We're also in this yeah, we gotta do a Black Friday episode if you wanna do one of those.
Can too. So yeah,
'Cause,
put it on the max.
yeah, yeah, we'll do that one. Boom, schedule that out. Alright, something else that's scary, at least to me. These billionaires funding a new anti-woke university. I actually don't know what this one is about, but I saw it in our list of topics here. I'm quoting this from where is this from? This is an MSN repost. Billionaires back new anti-woke university in Texas with $200 million in funding as discussed over campus protest goes. Wow. And Wall Street trader Jeff Yass and a couple others are flooding the University of Austin with about 200 million so far. Huh. Oh, this is great. The tiny school is currently housed in a former department store.
Love it. I don't know how woke became the bane of all that ill America, man. It's almost getting to the point where it's like that because it's a pendulum, right? It goes back and forth. Cool wokeness or just during the George Floyd protests, it was more backlash against people not having voices for so long and the ability to communicate. And that was also in addition to Me Too movement, right? And so now the backlash to that is you're not being fair to us, man. People just saying everything is cancelable. Not everything's cancelable. It's America. So we're gonna fight you back now. And then obviously these billionaires, they're seeing that they have more power now thanks to the internet. We talked about the All In podcast, right? We'll talk
Mhm.
about Elon Musk in a second. Before billionaires, just be the ivory towers and just play puppet master. Don't influence his election or put some money here. Now they're becoming the front faces of these kind of movements against things that they don't like that's toward their bigger purpose. There's a book I've been reading. It's called The Edge. You heard of Nate Silver?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got this book called The Edge. And he talks about, did we talk about this? Maybe I mentioned to someone else, but he talks about, so Nate Silver, you didn't know, he was the one that came up with, what was that blog years ago when
365.
Obama, yeah, 365 or something like that, where he predicted accurately Obama would win the election, right? Based on just polling data and analysis and all that. So he had a great book called The Signal and the Noise about like how to find valuable data
5
out of all the noise.
the blog is 538, I'm sorry. Nate Silver's 538
538.
blog.
Yeah, I think that's the number of electoral votes you can get to win the election. He came out of the sports world, went to politics using data, and basically was showing these journalists up is look, the data's there. We can figure out what the prediction models are for the elections based on state polling. And so he was able to influence a whole generation of just analytical politics. Then he kind of got out of that because people got mad at him for not predicting Trump. And so he went off in this journey and started doing poker campaigns, and he started doing sports betting. And now he's emerged from that world and wrote this book about this whole view is there's these folks that are the river folks, right? Who live by the river. This is his analogy. They live by the river. So they like to be on the edge. They're like really good about numbers. They understand concepts like predictions, they understand statistics, they understand things, terms called expected value, game theory. So they're really well versed in like how to make money and how to predict different things. So they play a lot of poker, they gamble, they invest in Bitcoin, they're venture capitalists. And so their mentality is becoming on the forefront. They're leading the edge when it comes to how society is being dictated. We're seeing that now somewhat with billionaires who made massive amount of wealth in these technologies or investing, like venture capitalists, like what's his name? Or private equity guys like this is Ekman. I gotta look him up. There's one big guy. He does a lot of stuff. But yeah, and they're fighting against the villagers, right? Which is the elites, those folks that go to Harvard or sit in Boston and New York and point their finger or the old school media and say, hey, this is not how you guys should be leading. And there's a fight between the river folks and the edge and the village folks for the soul of America. And so interesting concept that he goes into a lot of depth of gambling and all these other things, all these risky endeavors that we think, but that he's saying is something that's common sense for a lot of river folks, because to them, it's just about if the numbers well enough, you can win. And they're saying that pushing agendas and Trump and things like that helps ultimately society because it will help us emerge better off instead of going by traditional ways that didn't work for us previously. So it's a very interesting concept. So I bring that all up to say these woke or anti-woke university kind of, plays are along that thinking mindset, right? It's going to be interesting to see where this pans out, because I think they co-opted, remember Occupy Wall Street years ago?
Yeah.
So you see how this has emerged is like that became this. You read our history books, they talk about this all the time, like movements evolving some movement to a different movement and how they emerge. So that was really against capitalism when people lost their homes in the Great Recession and all that. But now it looks like these billionaires have co-opted that whole movement with the help of MAGA. So now no one's even fighting against the billionaires anymore. They want the billionaires on their side. It's crazy how this has evolved.
Can we jump to the number one billionaire and just get in his face, get in his ish
Do it.
and
Let's
his
do it.
he's got an anti-woke platform even. Ladies and gentlemen, Elon Musk is out of control. I don't mean that in a good way or a bad way. You just can't control the guy because listen, last week, phenomenal things have been happening. As I said, I'm trying not to sound pro or anti Elon Musk here, but he's got this new
Do it,
star
man. Do
brand.
it.
He's got
Do
this new
it.
star brand. No, I don't. I have a very objective opinion of him in general, and so I'm just going to let that out here. But I was posting about Elon Musk one time on Instagram, and someone says you sound like you're standing for Elon Musk. I'm like, no, dude has companies. I was just stating things, and he's you're an Elon Musk ass kisser, and I'm like, all right, guy. I said he has these three companies, and he's you love Elon Musk. All right, that's not what I said, but anyway. So we're going to cover really quickly the robotaxi, the Optimus robot, SpaceX, the election, and his other companies. And his other companies are actually still doing things too, and a little bit of randomness. So we'll start off with this robotaxi thing. Uber is doing okay, maybe, but there's still a lot of area where there's still a lot of room in the market where you can come in and tackle ride sharing. So Elon Musk in his new star brand, out of the blue, I'm saying out of the blue because I didn't see it coming. He launches this thing called Robotaxi by Tesla. It's basically Uber, but with Tesla robots auto driving it. And there was this big event, and the robotaxis came by, picked people up, and dropped people off at this unveiling or whatever. And Theo, I'm asking you about the stock sell off in a second. But this is an interesting play, I think, because this starts to lead into the whole futuristic movement that is Elon's brand. Like, hey, let's just think into the future. Like, I don't have to worry about picking up some crazy person, or I don't have to worry about some crazy person driving me somewhere, which I did have. I have had a crazy Uber experience one time. One of dude's doors was falling off and he was speeding through red lights and stuff. It was nuts. But he's a nice guy. And he got me there. He got me to where I need to be really on
Nice
time.
guy. Nice guy. Almost
Yeah.
died. Almost died.
I almost died. Um, but yeah, there's a Tesla stock sell off after this big event. And they say it could just be the beginning. Theo, have you looked into the stock action on after the robotaxi event?
I did not, man. I should. Full disclosure, I
You've
do
been
own some
busy.
Tesla. I do own some Tesla, but I have not. But that makes sense. Look, people have been trying to shorten Tesla. So short is when they basically bet against Tesla. So they put out puts or something like that in order to enact to say, hey, if it goes down, I'll buy your shares at this price point so people can get out of the stock price. And yeah, people have been trying to short Tesla for years. They always think it's overvalued because yeah, it was something worth like more than all the auto industries at one net worth at one time. So it just was irrational because it's probably built on the personality of Elon. But I will say this, man. One of the things I've noticed too is I don't know if you saw the other news too, man. We'll talk about some of the craziness that he's doing, but the business side, he just launched one of the largest rockets ever. It was called the booster rocket.
Hmm.
It's basically be able to get people to, it's a 3,000 ton rocket, can leave orbit. And then it left orbit and it came right back and it was caught on the landing pad with these arms.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
Did you watch
71,
it?
200 foot. I saw it. Yeah, I saw it on YouTube. So 242 feet, super heavy booster rocket that can get into space. And they said this powerful spacecraft can carry cargo to allow more than 100 patients to Mars in a single trip. It's crazy. So he was able to successfully do that. SpaceX is propelling the future forward in all the midst of all this craziness and the robo taxi no show. So it's like he's got so many hands in his pot that it doesn't matter, man. No news is really going to affect the bottom line. As I believe any company you own that he's associated with, yeah, I think that the market is going to price that in. Yeah, they may short it a little bit, but going to propel back up because you just can't bet against Elon because he's got so many irons in the fire, if you will.
Yeah. And I was saying, and this is the reason I threw the objective viewpoint out there, why I wanted to put it that way. It's because right early on off the bat, you're going to get your people who are Elon fanboys who are just like, ah, and they're doing their thing. And then they're the people who are like Elon haters and they're going to do their thing. But then ultimately, it's people are going to stop and, yo, that big ass rocket just flew up in the air, came back down, landed, and was caught in a big, gigantic robo hug by these two big arms on the launch pad. That's crazy. That's never happened before. And it was successful. It's a private company doing this, not like NASA's, it's SpaceX. So that was a really big deal in terms of like reusable space components, the idea of being able to, if you can do it here, you can set up different stations in other places. I can imagine the stuff I could launch all at once instead of putting it on a barge, maybe. If I really need to get a bunch of stuff, maybe an entire civilization out of the way of a volcano or something,
Mm.
I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Once that level of reality and futurism hits, yeah, there's a lot that comes after that. I don't know so much about Robotaxi. I'd be willing to try it out. Hopefully, Maximum Overdrive. Kids, go watch Maximum Overdrive. It's an old ass movie. It's pretty bad actually, but I like it. When the robots take over.
I
Uh,
know. Have a good day. Yeah.
but yeah, it's very strange, right? I don't know how that whole thing leaves you feeling. The Robotaxi announcement and the robots
I
driving you around.
mean, yeah, just Elon is gonna Elon, man, and keep pushing forward. And that's his brand, and that's I think is working for him. And I think his bet is that he can control Trump, and if Trump wins, obviously there's other side of that. There's rumors that the Justice Department has been looking to go after Elon for a while. And so
Right,
I
right.
think he's pushing, obviously. And we don't even talk about his satellite connections, like all the satellite he owns. They said literally he is controlling the communication channels there in Ukraine to help
Yeah.
Ukraine. And some of that he can turn on and off depending on certain factors. So he's got a lot of power, man. It's
Yeah. A friend of mine, we just jumped two things really quick. We just jumped to the political side. Want to make a note that Elon is definitely stumping for Trump out there, pushing Trump, wearing MAGA hats, and he's got his own reason for doing that, which Theo was saying. And his other company, Starlink, a friend of mine went hiking way out in some remote area, and he said he couldn't connect, but he had a Starlink connection, and he was like, "Hey, I got internet way out here. This is great." I was like, "Huh, okay." So that's happening, and one more I wanted to throw in, Neuralink. Neuralink is actually doing things. There's a whole community of people with issues with paralysis, physical issues, and not being able to degenerative nerve issues and things like that, that all of a sudden are being helped with the Neuralink. So you basically plug up some computers to your head, nodes go into your brain and help you continue living life to your fullest with this Neuralink stuff. And it hasn't really been talked about a lot, but the community that this is affecting is extremely excited about this. So that's going to come out of, at some point, I expect that to be like news where we have a very famous person. He was paralyzed, and all of a sudden he gets this Neuralink connection, and he's back on Dancing with the Stars 2 weeks later, something like that.
mm, well, and also the ability to merge man and machine, right? So the ability to really interface with AI more effectively.
Yeah,
Because obviously he was a doom and gloom guy for a long time about AI and the ills of AI. He was co-founder of OpenAI to help prevent AI from taking over, which, as we know, Sam Altman is now turned into a for-profit business.
hmm
So bump the charitable efforts. But yeah, Elon's doing Elon, man. It's hard to ultimately hate him as a businessman. You gotta
yeah.
respect him. That just the stuff he's doing is terrible.
Let me
From
ask you this.
other stuff.
Let's get to that side of it. You were poking me before, but do you like Elon? Is because everybody asks if you're talking about technology and stuff, and Elon comes up, someone's invariably going to ask you, even if they don't out loud, they're going to like, "Do
Yeah.
you like Elon?"
Yeah, I respect him in this. I just don't like what he says, and that. But I think it's all for a show, right? It's an agenda, right? He's playing. It's game theory for him, right? It's I have to play this role in order to get the things I want across, and so to him, that I think that's what it is, and that's a shame. But I do respect what he's building, to be fair. But I just don't like the way he's going about it, and that's just. Can you really hate the game though? That's game theory 101. You got to go for the any kind of prisoner's dilemma. You got to pick the best optum in a competitive game. You got to pick the outcome best for you.
Yeah,
And I think that's what he's doing. And which I don't know that because in his mind, and that gets into Nate Silver's book, right? Sam Altman, what he was the altruist, right? They're thinking about who cares about 5 years, 10 years from now. I'm thinking about 100 years from now. So if I gotta do whatever it takes now, even I gotta say crazy stuff, so the government doesn't stop my company from growing, so I can get men to Mars, then I've done my duty. So
yeah,
basically, that's his game theory, right? He's saying I'm gonna say crazy stuff so I can get Trump elected because if I don't get Trump elected, they're gonna slow my progress to build machines to Mars because they're gonna go after my other businesses. I won't have enough funding to do what I need to do. So I think that's the calculus in his head, and it's all a game to him.
yeah. Very interesting. I have no opinion on him as a person, but I think I have a lot of problems with what he goes along with. And this is the same thing I said about Joe Rogan and what's his name? Eric Weinstein, I think his name is, who shows up on his
Mhm.
podcast a lot, scientific guy, where they have these very, not Joe Rogan being scientific, but Elon and Weinstein, where they have these very scientific ways of looking at things. And it's the world doesn't work just on if you eat apples and they do this to the body, then you should eat apples 45% of the day. It doesn't work like that, dude. There's all kinds of social ramifications and history and a lot of stuff that really matters. I've known computer programmers like Elon who are just they'll look at a chart of numbers and think about things one way and they say, this makes sense, that didn't make sense. And obviously, duh. And you're like, my guy, you're a human. You're not going to be around in 4,000 years. So can you make a decision for next Tuesday as opposed to 4,000 years from now? It's just
Well,
hard for them, some of them to think like that.
no, because they're trying to play mathematical, rational games, right, to determine what's the best optimal decision. And so, to your point, it always makes them predictable. The altruist and all the decision making that they do is long term in nature, and it's not really going to affect us now. And that's scary because it's almost like, it doesn't matter how many people you hurt now, as long as you have a better future. But who knows who's going to live in that better future,
Yeah,
right? So that's always a challenge.
and that's why it's fundamentally flawed because if your future is so anti-present, the present's going to attack you and not allow your future.
Hey, yeah. Yeah. We know where that's from.
Wait, where's it from? I just made it up. I'm dead
No,
serious.
man, that was the whole premise of what's that? The Christopher Nolan movie that you have watched 20 times, man.
Oh, Tenet?
That's the whole premise. Remember, the future got so pissed at the present that they tried to attack us and kill us all.
No, that wasn't actually me in that podcast episode talking about Tenet. That was my future self who had come back. So I actually haven't watched my future self in that past episode. I don't know what you're talking
Yeah, man. You just gave the whole premise of Tenet, man, talking about
Dang, dang it.
what these guys are doing. I could foresee that too, because yeah, they're gonna make a messed up future, man. But anyway, we digress, man. Mr. Benja, before we end, do we want to rant a little bit about this story about Gen Zers?
Yeah, man, let's jump into Gen Z because they deserve some real world flames, as if they aren't getting them enough already.
Yeah,
Uh,
man. I think I sent this story to you, right? This
yeah,
is the story
I sent one to
about.
you, sent one because some FAMU
Oh
students
wow,
had
that
been
is
affected.
funny. Yeah, man. Bosses are firing Gen Z grads just months after hiring them. Here's what they say needs to change. This is in Fortune magazine, and they have a picture of a young kid sitting on the floor on the stairs with his head down. Looking sad.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's basically saying how they're just not as professional. They just don't know how to interact. The communication style is totally foreign and all that. And like I said, I as someone who has hired Gen Zers, who has nieces that are Gen Zers, they are a different breed. I think every generation is different. Let's be
Mhm.
honest, but for those who are in their 20s now, man, the communication style and the planning and the critical thinking is lacking a little bit. And the easy thing is to blame the internet and all that, but I do feel like they just don't know how to put things together. Now they're very fluid in internet culture, internet memification. I had a Gen Zer. I think I did a video short about that. Her explained to me all these Gen Z terms, right? So,
Yeah.
but it does seem like they don't know how to have impact, right? And move a project forward without super committee, which is great and thoughtful, right? Obviously you have the 1% who are like Olympic athletes or basketball stars or something like that that have oodles of ambition. But the vast majority at this time, they're still struggling to figure out what, and that's a function of a lot of different things. The parents we're coddling them. There's a lot of anxiety out there. Social media, there's
Yeah.
stories that say they don't go out as much. They just on their phone more so. They're more in danger of suicide than being killed in a car. So there's a lot of things that's going
Mhm.
on in their mentalities. So yeah, I would agree with that article about that. What have you seen from Gen Zers?
So let's before I drop that, we're about to close out here. In general, I'm reading from Newsweek here. Yeah, a whopping 6 in 10 employees had already fired college graduates who were hired. Jumping around, many recent college graduates may struggle with entering the work for the first time. It's a huge contrast from what they're used to. Jump around here. They're unprepared for a less structured environment because in school you're this. And so, this is what I was saying, hinting at earlier before. We've been sold something, and it's just this huge game that we're in, and it's being pushed by people who are running the machine. God, that sounds conspiratorial. But there's this thing going on where people want a profit. They want, and I don't necessarily mean money, but they want certain things, and they're moving the things in the world to get it. And if you don't see that you're being caught up in this whole movement, then it's hard to realize when you're outside of it. I was about to say the Matrix. I am saying don't get caught up in the Matrix. But It's really like that, where a lot of people are like, "Hey, isn't this like this and this like this? Shouldn't everybody stop and help me?" And I'm like, "That's not how it works." And nobody really tells you because that seems oppressive when people tell you that, "Hey, if you don't do this, the company is going to go under." Company's not going to go under. You are. Guess what? 80% of y'all fired. Everybody who works here at Twitter, 80% of y'all get out. You work here at Nvidia, get out. You work here in the game industry. I don't care how much money we made off of these games, get out. And they're just going to be out in the cold wondering why Jordan Peele didn't explain it when they said get out. No, it's all a big game. It's all a big movie. It's horror season coming up. Get out.
Tell us how you really feel, man.
Gen Zers, man,
Uh,
they're telling you, but they're not telling you.
yeah,
I
let's
love
let's
y'all.
not even talk about the yeah, those that talk about the remote workers around TikTok and all the remember that? I think that got pissed a lot of folks off too. I get up at 6 and have my coffee, then I go do this and I check some emails by the pool. Yeah, man, it's that whole entitlement that goes along with it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's one thing. That entitlement is I'm owed this type of lifestyle, right? That whole thing. And number
Oh,
two,
man.
I think the other thing is skill development. Alex Hormozy talked about it, man. Your 20s is all about you have no skills of value in the marketplace. You work hard to develop as many skills as possible, as
Yeah.
fast as possible. And that's the only thing you can control is figure out those skills. That's why I tell my kids life is about skill accumulation. The more
Yeah.
skills you have, the more valuable you are, not just for yourself and your self worth, but also for the market that's going to pay you money for those skills.
Yeah, not just reading books and downloading stuff from Google and assuming AI is going to do it for you. I'm talking about soft skills, being able to change up your personality depending on who you're talking to, being able to read cultures differently, being able to just be resilient and suck it up sometimes because, sorry, God, I didn't mean to say sorry like that, but yeah, that's how it goes. That's cold outside. That's all I'm
I
saying.
love it. Nah, man. So we're gonna end it here, man. That's
Oh,
our advice
I
to the
love this Gen Zers, man. I love y'all, but I will be real with you whenever I can.
Gen Z, the Gen Z rant. That's what we're gonna call this, man. But anyway, guys, look, I think we're gonna wrap it up now. So I hope you enjoy listening to us today. We're back, baby. Live in effect going on once a week, man. So I love it. So if you like this podcast, please like, subscribe, and comment at Show versus Business on X, Threads, YouTube, and Instagram. Listen to us at Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Yeah, go check out our website, Show versus Business. Mr. Benja, have a great one.
You too, man. And make sure if you're Gen Z, post a comment letting us know you're Gen Z, and we will tell you harsh things as practice for the real world. Peace.